Queensland, the bankruptcy state. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I'm still enjoying my Saturday, relaxing, coffee in hand, and I thought we'd read through this article that a viewer mentioned the other day. And this is from the Courier Mail on Friday. Now, I couldn't get access to the digital version, so I old-schooled it, guys. So let's have a look at this. This is about Queensland becoming the bankruptcy state and the number of bankruptcies in 2018. So Queensland has become the broke state, with more people entering bankruptcy than anywhere nationwide. Now, that's a pretty drastic measure, the number of bankruptcies that are occurring. The shock flashpoint for Queensland economy has prompted business groups to issue a dire SOS to the Morrison and Palaszczuk governments, urging shovel-ready infrastructure projects be immediately brought forward. Shovel-ready infrastructure projects. And while I agree that perhaps there needs to be some infrastructure projects, it seems like it's a bit too late after you've had 9,000 bankruptcies, isn't it? Just last year. More than 5,000 Queensland small businesses and individuals entered bankruptcy arrangements in the 2017-2018 financial year, the highest in Australia, with more than 9,000 cases declared. Final insolvencies across the state in the 2018 calendar year, so over 9,000. Not since 2001 and 2002 has Queensland recorded the most bankruptcies of any state or territory. Well, there you go. There you go. The data from the Australian Financial Security Authority and the Australian Securities and Investment Commission, ASIC, reveals the regions are the hardest hit. There you go. Which will spark federal MPs to ramp up pressure on the state to build more dams and water infrastructure. Well, if I've actually done a video, and I will link to it here, I'll write down the time, I'll put it on here, 2 minutes, that our water infrastructure has not kept up with our population growth. If you look back at 2000 to now, compare our population growth to our capacity in water supply, in storable, potable water from the dams, it has not gone up much at all. We're becoming more and more dependent on desalination technology to store or produce water for our population. That's not the smartest thing. Gladstone, Townsville and Cairns are had large increases finalised insolvencies between 2014 and 2018. Wow, if we look here, Gladstone 228, Townsville, where's Townsville? 503, Cairns 326. Businesses in construction, accommodation and retail have gone to the wall more than any other industry in the past financial year. That's not surprising, particularly with construction. Accommodation to deal with tourism and the retail sector. Even though Jerry Harvey is going all guns and gangbusters compared to the department stores, retail is feeling it. Chamber of Commerce of Industry Queensland analysis has also revealed a decline in private sector jobs creation in the past 5 years. The analysis also reveals just 63% of Queensland firms operating in 2014 were still operating last year. So what's that saying is, if 63% of 2014 firms are still in operation, that means 47% are not. 2014, that's 5 years ago. 5 years ago. A statistic likely to dog Anastasia Palaszczuk ahead of next October's election is that 56% of all jobs created were linked to the public sector, the analysis reveals. 56%, I'm going to draw around that one in red. 56% of jobs created are in the public sector. Does that fill anyone with confidence where Queensland is heading? 56%, guys, of more jobs were created in the public sector than the private sector. So that's all funded through government money and government entities. It's not filling me with confidence. Not at all. That's concerning. Where's that money come from, fundamentally? Wait, I shouldn't be moving. So, CCIQ spokesman Dan Petrie said that private sector investment had fallen dramatically in the past decade. Confused policy sitting around mining projects. Drought? No. Above inflation wage hikes and the high cost of compliance have all played a part, with an average of 4 Queensland businesses a day closing down. Confusion around policy. So, our own state level version of sovereign risk here. The drought. Wage hikes. I think there's a protest that's happening in Melbourne where the tram workers want to get 6% per annum wage hikes. The union's going on strike. 6% per annum. Do these people not live in reality? Do these people not live in reality? A spokesman for Treasurer Jackie Trad trumpeted Queensland's job creation. Over the past 12 months, the Palaszczuk government has overseen the creation of almost 52,000 jobs, or 1,000 jobs every week. Of course it's easy. Of course it's easy. If you're just creating them yourself. And it's not government's role to create employment. It's government's role to get out of the way of private industry. To ensure basic requirements that our civilization agrees upon are met, not to become a bloated, self-perpetuating entity that's just consuming more and more resources where they think they're doing something. So, importantly, more than 90% of the jobs created over the past 12 months have been full-time positions. Our investment in infrastructure has increased each year since we came to government. And the 2019 Queensland budget delivered a record $49.5 billion infrastructure spend, with a focus squarely on regional infrastructure delivery. Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg said the coalition was committed to supporting Queensland through investments, including $10 billion in health and education, as well as $9.8 billion in infrastructure projects across the state over the next 4 years, and lower taxes. I mean, there's the difference. All the people leaving in the comments, well, it's the Liberal government that's sending us this way. Guys, the difference between the two mobs is irrelevant, really. It's tiny. It is tiny. You'd be hard pressed to argue that the Liberal government is a free market government. You'd be hard pressed. Our government's strong fiscal management means that we can support a stronger economy for Queensland, as well as guarantee the essential services Queenslanders rely on, he said. The Morrison government will continue to work with the state government to address the economic challenges facing the state, particularly in relation to drought and flood. So, it's definitely an interesting issue that they're talking about here with regards to this. I'm more concerned that 56% of the jobs are just coming out of the public sector. That's where the majority of the growth is. And they're full-time positions, so that's better. Is that what we need? Is that where we're going? That's the concerning thing. Government's just getting bigger. We had the previous Premier, Newman, when he tried to reduce a lot of the bloat. You can't have it both ways, guys. We've got our car registration fees are all going up here in Queensland. You've got people waiting for access to emergency services. We've got some of the best EDs in the world, design-wise. But if they're, waiting in the trolleys and the ambulance ramps, that's not a good thing, is it? So I think it's definitely challenging times here in Australia. I think the number of bankruptcies that have occurred, Darling Downs, 131, Gladstone, 228, Rockhampton, 245, Mackay Whitsundays, 255, Toowoomba, 265, Cairns, 326, Wide Bay, Burnett, 361, Sunshine Coast, 490, Townsville, 503, Gold Coast 1,264, and Greater Brisbane 4,245, over 9,000. That is something that you'll be concerned about. And this number is even more worrying. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. What would your solution be to this? Do you think the government has any chance of reducing this number? The amount of jobs that are created from the public sector, the public purse. I mean, frankly, I don't blame people for taking jobs with the government, particularly during tough economic times. You know, that's the issue. They're going to still print your money for you and pay you. The only issues Queensland had with paying staff is with their terrible infrastructure when they, changed their IT system. I think that was the last disaster a few years ago. So yeah, that's very concerning. That many jobs are being created in the public sector, that bankruptcies are the highest in the entire country. They seem to just overestimate the value of what they're doing. But then again, most of these people in these positions, particularly in the labour, how many of them have ever run a business? How many of them have actually run the tuck shop in the school they worked at? How many of them have just been lawyers, servicing one sector, and haven't experienced the real day-to-day challenges of these 9,000 businesses that are going under? There's another piece I want to look at, which is to do with the danger of men in the trades and the high risk of suicide. And, there's a lot of small businesses here, construction, one of them. And guys, it's only stuff, it's not worth it. You always build up again. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. Do you think Queensland is in trouble? Like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, guys. Have a good afternoon.